Winter weather warning. Meteorologists say freezing rain is set to blanket the region tonight and that residents need to be prepared for the potential of poor road conditions and power outages. Good afternoon. This is CTV News at 5. I'm Stefan. Just when many of us thought we could fully start to usher in a new season, we're being told it was a tease. Environment Canada is issuing a freezing rain warning for eastern Ontario and western Quebec that could last a full 24 hours. According to climatologists and meteorologists with the government weather agency, it will start tonight and resemble an ice storm like this one that we haven't seen in years. The City of Ottawa says it has salt trucks on standby. Meanwhile, Hydro Ottawa is warning that ice buildup on trees and power lines could trigger widespread power outages.
In general, we're looking at around 10 to 20 millimeters possibly of accretion, which is quite similar to what occurred back in 2023 in April. So that's what we're looking at for the Ottawa area as well as the Montreal area.
We're really making sure we have our equipment ready. We've got enough salt ready to go for the potential freezing rain. And then as we transition into the nighttime, our teams will be monitoring really closely. So depending on the start time, are we going to have rain? Are we going to have freezing rain right at the start? Will dictate how we respond to the storm right at the beginning of it.
Residents are urged to prepare a 72-hour emergency kit and charge devices like cell phones and laptops before the storm hits. CTV's Jackie Perez joins us live with more on what we need to know about the system moving in. Jackie.
Well, Stefan, we are keeping a close eye on the large weather system that is making its way from the west as well as combined from the south. So you can see here that is a wintry mix. You can see the purple here with some flurries and snow moving in. The pink is what we want to pay attention to. This is the freezing rain, and we've got the green, which is showcasing parts of rain moving in. We will likely see freezing rain move throughout eastern Ontario, specifically here in Ottawa, for well into all of our Wednesday. And again, it has prompted a freezing rain warning for parts of Ottawa, 10 to 20 millimeters anticipated of freezing rain, and rainfall warning in effect for the Kingston-Brockville area, 20 to 40 millimeters of rainfall. And there is a chance for some thunderstorm risk. And why are we seeing more rainfall? Well, likely as the weather starts to warm up or those temperatures above the freezing mark, we could see more rain than the freezing rain. Now, keeping a close eye, it should extend not just Wednesday into the late evening. So heavy rainfall on the way. In terms of temperature-wise, we are anticipating about -2 for overnight. Heavy wind gusts will carry us into tomorrow morning. 0 is going to be our daytime high. We'll get a closer look at this and a look at your long-term forecast in just a bit. Stefan.
Thank you for this, Jackie. Dozens of high school students in Ottawa's East End walked out of class today protesting changes to Ontario's student financial aid program. They say the proposed changes to OSAP could leave graduating students with more debt than they bargained for. CTV's Caitlin Wilson joins us live now with more on the teens taking action to keep OSAP as is. Caitlin.
Yes, Stefan, there was a lot of concern and frustration from students today. On top of the province lifting a 7-year tuition freeze, they say they're worried about taking on even more debt. Under the current system, students can receive up to 85% of their funding through grants and the other 15% through loans. But under the proposed changes, only 25% would come through grants, while the rest would be repayable loans. Critics warn the changes send the wrong message, as many students say they're worried about the thought of graduating with heavy debt.
Some students have already accepted their offers. Some students are going away for school and they thought they had support, but now you're just you're pulling the carpet under their feet.
My family, we don't live here. We don't come from here, so we're not that well off. So the OSAP grants really help us fund our education and stuff.
We already have a huge shortage in nurses and doctors and teachers, and if people cannot follow their dreams and go to school to fill these professions, how are we going to fix this?
In a statement, the province says the changes are necessary to restore sustainability to OSAP and ensure its availability for future generations. According to the province, the program cost $2.7 billion this year and could reach more than $4 billion by 2029. And students say they plan to keep speaking out with even more rallies planned in the coming weeks. Stefan?
All right, CTV's Caitlin Wilson reporting live for us. Thank you, Caitlin. In the meantime, dozens from Algonquin College's teaching staff held a rally at the Ottawa campus today demanding more transparency about the college's recent program cuts. Faculty members are calling on the college administration to provide written documentation to back up major academic decisions. Last week, Algonquin College's Board of Governors voted to suspend 30 programs, citing funding shortfalls and a decline in international enrollment.
Please show us
the information that was used, the financial data, the student enrollments, the external and internal trends that we've been mapping, show us that data. What information was used? What process was used to come to these decisions?
The union also says it's not too late to reverse the most recent cuts. With the RCMP calling it a matter of national security, here in the capital, politicians on the Hill and likely other embassies in Ottawa are paying close attention after the U.S. Consulate in Toronto was attacked by gunfire early this morning.
The RCMP deeming the shooting at the U.S. Consulate a national security incident, and will use the full weight of resources and ensure that the perpetrators feel the full weight of justice.
The RCMP is involved in the investigation with Toronto Police, and while the Prime Minister is promising justice right now, investigators are not only working to determine who fired the shots, but also why. Police say the two shooters emerged from a white Honda CR-V around 4:30 this morning before opening fire. No one was injured. Security is being beefed up at the U.S. and Israeli embassies here in Ottawa as a precaution. Canadians are trying to flee the Middle East at all costs with the ongoing war, but an Ottawa man says he's out around $7,500 after a Canadian tour company canceled his trip to Egypt because of it, pulling the plug just days before departure. CTV's Tyler Fleming joins us live with more on the fight for a refund. Tyler.
Yeah, Stefan, Frank Menezes became caught between two cancellation policies, one for the tour company, Adventures Abroad, the other his insurance, and neither wanted to provide a refund. The trip was supposed to leave this past Sunday, but Vancouver-based tour provider made the choice to cancel over safety concerns citing the war, along with an updated do not travel advisory from the United States. But according to Adventure Abroad's policy, the company does not have to provide a refund and instead says customers should go through travel insurance, which Menezes had. But the claim was denied because Canada did not change its travel advisory. There was another issue, too. He paid for the $7,500 trip via e-transfer.
Is to pay by e-transfer, there's no recourse. Had he put it on a Visa card or something like that, he could have disputed it and would have had money coming back that way.
Nothing had changed. So since they took it upon themselves to cancel the tour for not any valid reason, as far as the insurance company was, they are liable, or no, I wouldn't say the word liable, but they should be at least exploring a refund of credits or refund.
Now, when contacted by CTV News Ottawa, Adventures Abroad said while it stands by its decision to cancel, Menezes will receive a full credit toward another trip, which he is very thankful for, adding he's already booked another trip to Egypt scheduled for later this year. Stefan.
All right, a happy ending. CTV's Tyler Fleming reporting live for us. Thank you, Tyler. An elderly woman is in hospital with life-threatening injuries after she was struck by a vehicle in a parking lot yesterday. It happened at the South Quay Shopping Centre around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Paramedics say the victim is a woman in her 80s. She was brought to the trauma center in critical condition. Police are asking anyone with information or with dash cam footage to contact investigators. The federal and provincial governments are boosting funding for workers impacted by the Canada-U.S. trade war. More than $228 million will be invested over the next 3 years to expand training and support for affected workers. Federal and provincial ministers making the announcement on Parliament Hill today. The money is coming from the federal government going toward what's being called the Canada-Ontario Workforce Tariff Response. Officials say this will help up to 27,000 workers across the province learn new skills to get back to work in key sectors of the economy. The new funding will focus on workers in the steel and softwood lumber sectors, as well as automotive manufacturing. The province will deliver programs through the Skills Advance Ontario initiative. Well, there are calls today to lower the age for routine colorectal screening in Canada. Colorectal Cancer Canada wants provinces and territories to commit to lowering the screening age from 50 to 45 for average-risk Canadians.
Over the last decade, more than 18,000 Canadians under the age of 50 have been diagnosed with the disease. These are people in the prime of their lives, raising families, building careers, and contributing to their communities. And far too often, their cancers are diagnosed too late because routine screening begins too late.
The organization says the change would reflect the rising rate of the disease among younger adults. The Canadian Cancer Society reported in November that colorectal cancer was expected to be the 4th most commonly diagnosed cancer in Canada in 2025 and the 3rd leading cause of death from cancer in both men and women. Coming up on CTV News at 5, with the region bracing for what could be a significant amount of freezing rain, we'll hear about how residents coped with major ice storms in years past. Here's what you need to know. Enjoy a joyful tribute to Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, this week at the National Arts Centre. Her iconic hits come to life with vocals along with the NAC Orchestra. There are shows March 12th through to the 14th. And here's a quick live check on traffic. Taking a look at the Queensway right now at Bayswater. Things are flowing well in both directions. Parkdale not looking too bad either. But then you start to see some westbound slowdowns as you head towards Woodruff, starting around Churchill. You're watching CTV News at 5. Welcome back to CTV News at 5 as we keep a close eye on freezing rain expected to make its way into the region starting tonight. Many Ottawa area residents have been here before. The city has been hit by severe ice storms in years past, including in 2023. Today's radio question of the day is asking, what was your last experience with an ice storm?
It was really the first time that I went out for 5 days, you know. So, and I had my granddaughter here, of course, visiting. It surprised us it lasted so long last time. And we decided, okay, that's it. We're just going to get a small portable generator, and so we can put the fridge on and our internet.
Christy Cameron is here with more, and I'm sure many longtime Ottawa residents have memories of 1998 even.
1998, we've had tornadoes, we had the ice storm in 2023, we've had floods, and then we've had floods again, right? We had that once in 100-year flood, and then 2 years later, we had it again, and I was out there in my hip waders covering it. So I feel you, Ottawa. I feel like we've been through a lot of severe weather. And I'll say this, you know, Steph, usually, the experience of a talk radio show host when you're talking about the potential ice storm that's on the way is that you get heckled. There's always one person, one listener who calls in and they'll say, come on, we're Canadians, we're used to this extreme weather in Eastern Ontario. But you know what? You don't get that anymore. I didn't have one single person today calling me out for talking about this because we have lost power. We've been through it. And so many people have changed the way they prepare. Collectively, I think we have a different mentality, which is just get ready for it. And hopefully that 1 degree temperature difference makes a profound impact. And maybe it won't be bad. Maybe we won't lose power. But you know what? The forecast isn't looking good. So buckle up.
And there has been a shift, I would say, in when these weather events take place. You know, if it were December or January, maybe we'd still be getting heckled, but it's March. And people are saying, well, we're ready to usher in spring, and now we're dealing with an ice storm.
Yeah, and I think people also kind of like not look forward to it, okay? They don't look forward to it, but they are ready to use the things that they have ordered. Right. A lot of people have generators, so they're kind of looking them over, giving them the once over. They've got their AA batteries, their AAA batteries, their torches, their lanterns, their headlamps, what have you. So it's kind of like they don't feel caught off guard. They just feel like they need to do a checklist or something.
That's right.
Maybe that's just me sending my husband out for propane this morning. You know, a couple years ago, he would have said, no, thanks. He said, okay, honey.
All right.
And he went and he got that propane.
Get the batteries. Thank you, Christy. You can join the conversation, leave a comment through the Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. You can listen live to Christy Cameron on News Talk 580 CFRA weekdays from 2 to 6. And now watch Christy's segments on YouTube. Subscribe to the News Talk 580 CFRA channel. Coming up on CTV News at 5, what's happening with gas prices over the next couple of days and why you may want to fill up if you can or wait to do so if you can. Here's what you need to know. Explore dozens of local vendors this Sunday at the Lansdowne Farmers Market. The organization features producers from within 100 kilometers of Ottawa. It runs from 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Coming up later tonight on CTV after the news, Best Medicine starts at 7, Will Trent at 8, High Potential at 9, and RJ Decker at 10. A significant weather event has been declared for Ottawa and the region as a significant amount of freezing rain is about to move through our region. With another check on the weather, here's CTV's Jackie Perez live in studio for us. Jackie.
Well, thanks so much, Stefan. We are tracking this significant ice storm that is making its way into the region. It could start as early as tomorrow morning. So again, keeping a close eye on this. And here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam, where we are showcasing downtown Ottawa. Cloudy skies, no sun in sight. Temperatures have dropped in the last hour from 9 degrees to 6 degrees, and it will continue to drop as we get closer to the evening. And we are seeing significant winds pop up as well. Taking a closer look at our watches and warnings, a reminder of freezing rain warning in effect for here in Ottawa, 10 to 20 millimeters of freezing rain beginning tomorrow morning into Wednesday evening. We've also got a rainfall warning, 20 to 40 millimeters of rainfall expected for the parts closer to the seaway, and that includes the Kingston and Brockville area. Closer look at what we can expect midnight temperature-wise. 1 degree. There is the risk of freezing drizzle should we see some showers rolling in early this evening. And the wind gusts are going to get up to about 60 kilometers per hour. And this is around the noon hour. So it's going to be heavy winds. We've got northeasterly winds moving in as well by the time the afternoon, early evening rolls around. But the freezing rain will continue steadily throughout here in Ottawa from 7 a.m. into the evening. Meanwhile, in the valley, very similar to our temperatures here in Ottawa, -3 overnight. Afternoon, daytime high -1 with periods of freezing rain. Now Kingston along the seaway, kind of a different story because it is going to be slightly warmer, slightly above the freezing mark. So chance of showers or drizzle for the overnight 0, while the afternoon 8 degrees will be the daytime high. This could mean that instead of the freezing rain, we are likely going to see heavier rainfalls and the potential for a risk of thunderstorms moving in as well. A closer look now at what we can see for this tracker. We'll likely see this on your morning commute. The freezing rain mainly dominating for here in Ottawa and Pembroke. Kingston, by the afternoon, we're going to see a lot more rainfall. You see that yellow closer just past the states. Isolated thunderstorms could pop up. We're not seeing any for the eastern region right now, but we are keeping a very close eye on this. Meanwhile, temperatures for the rest of the week, we are averaging around the freezing mark. It won't be until Friday that we could see the return of more snow. So we're
Weather is brought to you by Manotick Tree. Complete tree care from start to stump.
All right, and as we mentioned, we are not quite done with the winter. Friday, we are anticipating periods of snow moving through, but for now, we are paying very close attention to this ice storm that is making its way through our region. Stefan.
All right, thank you for this, Jackie. Coming up for us here on CTV News at 5, the federal government reaches an agreement with TikTok about operating in Canada. Details very shortly. Here's what you need to know right now. The Ottawa Nostalgia and Collectibles Show is happening this coming Sunday at the Nepean Sportsplex. Check out more than 100 tables of memorabilia, including comics, old advertising, toys, and lots more. It's on from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. If you need gas this evening, one of today's cheapest gas prices can be found at the Canadian Tire station on Heron Road near Bank Street. Regular gas there tonight is going for 150.9 cents a liter. Here's another live check on traffic at Saint Laurent. Things are moving well in both directions. If you are eastbound headed towards Orleans, things start to back up around the Split and Blair. And if you are westbound, it is slow going starting around Churchill all the way out to Woodruff. You're watching CTV News at 5. Here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. Temperature right now, 6 degrees. And time now for a look ahead to CTV News at 6. Here's Patricia Bull.
Thanks, Steph. Here's what we're working on for 6 o'clock.
We'll use the full weight of resources and ensure that the perpetrators feel the full weight of justice.
An early morning shooting at the U.S. Consulate in Toronto is being investigated as a national security incident. We'll have the latest on this developing story coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
They don't clearly outline what next year is going to look like.
Students at Ottawa's Adult High School are concerned over changes next fall. According to a document sent to staff, students over the age of 21 will be moved to an in-person continuing education model, but what that means for day-to-day learning is not yet entirely clear.
We already have a huge shortage in nurses and doctors and teachers, and if people cannot follow their dreams and go to school to fill these professions, how are we going to fix this?
And high school students in Ottawa's East End walking out of class today. They're protesting changes to Ontario's student financial aid program that they say will leave them shouldering a burden of debt when they are in their university years. All of that and more is coming up tonight on CTV News at 6. That's right after the early edition of CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo at 5:30. Steph.
Thank you, Patricia. Now the final 5 other stories we're following today. The social media platform TikTok will be allowed to continue operating here in Canada after agreeing to enhanced security for users. In 2024, the federal government ordered TikTok to take its business out of the country because of national security risks, but the app was never banned. A federal court reversed that order in January and demanded another review. The federal government now says TikTok can keep its business in Canada. In turn, the platform will enhance privacy protections and has agreed to invest in the country's cultural sector. As the conflict in the Middle East continues to impact gas prices, more fluctuation is expected at the pumps. Many stations across the city saw prices hovering around $1.54 a litre today. Canadians for Affordable Energy President Dan McTagg says regular gas prices are expected to rise by another cent tomorrow, but he says prices will drop on Thursday by around 8 cents a litre for regular gas and 12 cents for diesel. The Ottawa Carleton District School Board is now going to open registration for junior kindergarten at alternative schools, despite previously saying no new students would be allowed to enter the program. Parents were told in December there would be no new kindergarten intakes, but in a letter to parents sent out just yesterday, the supervisor said new junior kindergarten students will be accepted into the program this fall. The board has 4 alternative schools.
Elias Pettersson takes a run at Pinto. Giroux goes down, makes a play. Zook with a shot off a body. Here's Ridley Gregg. He scores!
The Ottawa Senators were in Vancouver last night taking on the Canucks. Ottawa netting a shutout for this one with a final score of 2-0. It brings the team a bit closer to a playoff spot. The Sens are back at home tomorrow taking on Montreal at 7:30. The Toronto Zoo is asking for help naming its new baby giraffe. The female calf was born on February 22nd. The zoo has partnered with the Kenyan Consulate on 5 potential names for the new giraffe. They are Binti, which means daughter, Imara, which means strong, firm, and resilient, Nima for grace, Nyota for star, and Sana, which stands for beauty or art. That is CTV News at 5. I'm Stefan Keys. Be sure to join Patricia Bull for CTV News at 6. The early edition of National starts now.